Hello and welcome to What Culture Horror with myself, Andrew Pollard. I hope you're well. I hope you're good. I hope you had the best weekend possible. Right, let's get into horror news and let's get into, sadly, to start things off today, we pay tribute to the legendary Tony Todd. Sadly, this past weekend saw the news that Tony Todd had passed away. Deadline was the first to report on this tragic news, with Tony having passed away on Wednesday, the 6th of November. At 69 years of age. Subsequently, Tony's wife Fatima told the Hollywood Reporter that he had been battling a long illness. Man, where to even start when looking back at the life and career of Tony Todd? Words like legend and icon get thrown around far too easy these days, be that in horror, in the movie business, in general entertainment, or just in day-to-day life. But Tony Todd was someone fully deserving of such titles. While he is forever synonymous with the Candyman role, of course, Tony Todd has comfortably over 200 credits on his resume. It's a career that began back in 1980. Tony did Broadway in addition to the multitude of film and TV roles that he played over the decades. There was Platoon back in 1986. That was a notable moment in Tony Todd's career. And in terms of horror, playing Ben in Tom Savini's 1990 Night of the Living Dead remake was huge. Of course, just 2 years later, audiences would get the first Candyman movie, and with that, the name Tony Todd became one of horror royalty. Just taking a look back through Tony's film credits, you have that great turn from him in Alex Proyas's The Crow, which is just such an underrated role, I think. There was Wishmaster, there's William Bloodworth in the Final Destination series, Reverend Zombie in the Hatchet franchise. There was the twin title roles in the 2006 take on Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. There was Candyman director Bernard Rose's Frankenstein. There's the really fun Hellfest movie from 2018, again, very underrated. And obviously, there's the Candyman sequels. And you look at the man's TV work, he just popped up in so many TV series over the years, be that in major roles or simply just a brief appearance, a one-shot, as it were, a cameo. You have all the Star Trek work appearing in The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager. There was Stargate SG-1. There was a few episodes of the Scream series. There was 24, of course, Smallville, Criminal Minds, Charmed, Xena Warrior Princess, Hercules, Homicide: Life on the Street, NYPD Blue, Murder, She Wrote, The X-Files. Just so many legendary TV shows that brought Tony Todd in for an episode or for a few episodes or for a regular role. And plenty of those shows I've likely totally missed here as well, because there's just so many. And of course, when you think of Tony Todd, you think of that voice. So it's no surprise as well that Tony's voice would often be heard across various projects. A perfect one for me, it was just brilliant casting, was Tony Todd being the voice of Zoom in The Flash. A voice that just fit like a glove for how the Arrowverse depicted Zoom, especially in that season 2, the early days of Zoom, when there was all the mystery around the character and it's just this booming, ominous voice. Yeah, and I mean, that wasn't the only DC project. I mentioned Smallville as well, but Tony was involved famously voicing Darkseid and a bunch of things. There was, I mean, he got to appear in Scooby-Doo, and I love me some Scooby-Doo. And yes, there was the Transformers work as well. More recently, Tony Todd was also the voice of Venom in Insomniac's stunning Spider-Man 2, which again, just such a totally perfect fit. Even more recently than Spider-Man 2, Tony was one of the many major horror names involved with Michael Levy's Stream, which was released digitally just last month. That's a film that's been on my radar for a long time, just because of the names involved in it, man. As well as Tony Todd, there's Jeffrey Combs as Dee Wallace, Danielle Harris, Bill Moseley, David Howard Thornton, Felissa Rose, and Tim Curry. So that's a film that should be on the radar of many horror fans. Purely for those names alone, that is Stream. We've also got Tony back as Bloodworth in Final Destination Bloodlines, which releases later this year. That film has not got a set release date as of now, but it is very much like, yeah, it'll be here at some point later in the year. No, not later this year. Later next year. For some reason, and I thought I was in 2025. I'm not. It's not quite there yet. It's 2025 that is on the way, Final Destination Bloodlines. So yeah, the news of Tony Todd's passing, obviously it sucks, but man, what a career and what a life. Tony Todd, just one of those rare actors who brought an instant sense of gravitas and legitimacy to every single thing he did. You look at Candyman as a prime example of that. I mean, that is the role he's most synonymous with, but in the hands of another actor, that could have been so hammy, so corny. But Tony Todd made that character almost like Shakespearean thespian with what he brought to that role. Again, gravitas, presence. So I just like to say for myself and all of us here at What Culture Horror, just thoughts go out to the family, friends, and fans of the truly legendary Tony Todd. Rest easy, and thanks just for so many memories, man. So many great roles, so many great performances. Right, how do you transition to another news story from here? I guess you don't. There is no transition from that. So just in other news, a new Silent Night, Deadly Night movie is on the way from Cineverse and Bloody Disgusting. Now, Mike P. Nelson will be writing and directing. Nelson, best known for the really solid 2021 Wrong Turn. I mean, that's a franchise that I'd say ups and downs, but more downs and ups. But that kind of the reboot, as it were, in 2021, very decent movie. Michael P. Nelson as well did a couple of segments on VHS 1985 last year as well. Now, the original Silent Night, Deadly Night was released back in 1984. 40 years ago. That's crazy, man. You've got young Billy Chapman there. He witnesses the death of his parents at the hands of a man in a Santa outfit. That's what sets the stage for Silent Night, Deadly Night. You skip ahead then to when Billy is 18, has a bit of a breakdown because he's been in an orphanage and he's had a traumatic old life as Billy. And so when he's 18, has his breakdown and embarks on his own murder spree, all, of course, while being dressed as Santa Claus. I mean, they say it was released in 1984. It was, and then it wasn't. Part of the reason that Silent Night, Deadly Night achieved such a cult status among horror fans is for the fact it was actually pulled from theaters just like literally a week after its release. Basically, TriStar, who distributed the film, received a bunch of complaints from concerned parents and the like about how a murderous Santa Claus, yep, that was going to traumatize the kids. And so TriStar actually responded to that by, just pulling it from cinemas, pulling it from theaters a week after its release. And with that, Silent Night, Deadly Night became that kind of the hotly sought after movie due to the controversy, where it's like, oh, right, okay, there's loads of controversy around this film. We're not allowed to see this film, which of course makes it that kind of that forbidden fruit of like, but now we really need to see this film. What's so bad about it? In reality, I mean, it's not an overly gory movie. It's not an overly, it's a fun little slasher film that got a massive boost to its reputation because of those same people who didn't want people to see it. So thanks to them. Since that first film, there has been several follow-ups. There's Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2 in 1987, which, amongst other things, that spawned the Garbage Day meme you'll see doing the rounds every now and again on social media. There was Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3, Better Watch Out, in 1989. Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Initiation, came from the brilliant Brian Usner. I love me some Brian Usner. That was in 1990. There was Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toy Maker, 1 year after that. And then the franchise went dormant until Silent Night. It was just called Silent Night. There was no Deadly Night in this one, in 2012, which was surprisingly decent. I had a lot of fun with that. Malcolm McDowell's in it, man. You've got Santa with a flamethrower. What more do you need? For this Silent Night, Deadly Night reboot, executive producers of the original film, Scott J. Schneid and Dennis Whitehead, are on board, as well as Jamie R. Thompson, Erica Becker, Yolanda Messias, and Cineverse's Brandon Hill and Brad Miska. The new movie will head into production soon, with the current plan to give it a theatrical release in late 2025. Yes, a theatrical release, which, if I can get that in my local little cinema here in Wrexham in North Wales, I will be very, very happy. Of course, Cineverse were most recently involved with Terrifier 3, so they're certainly not afraid of bringing plenty of gore to the table. Moving over to other news, Deadline reports that Daniel Zogardi is in talks to take on the lead role in the upcoming sci-fi horror The Temple. For those American Horror Stories fans out there, you'll have seen Zogardi pop up in the Leprechaun episode that aired last month. As for The Temple, that's from writer-directors Yona Lewis and Calvin Thomas. And it centers on an orphan millionaire who uses their vast resources to try and find the ghosts of his parents, all with the help of a skeptical radiation scientist. Now, no further details are known about The Temple at this stage, but just that basic premise alone, it's like, yep, this one has my interest. I will keep an eye on this, see how things develop. I mean, a millionaire orphan trying to use all their wealth to track down the ghosts of their parents. Yeah, that sounds like an intriguing premise to me. Now, right, just to wrap things up today, there's a little bit of casting news for Steamboat. Yep, that'd be one of the various various Mickey Mouse inspired horrors that are in the works at the moment. In case you missed it, the early version of Mickey Mouse, most famously seen in Steamboat Willie, that entered the public domain earlier in the year. I think it was actually the very turn of the year, in January the 1st. And that means that version of Mickey Mouse is totally fair game. Anybody can do anything they want with that. I mean, if I wanted to go make a movie about it, I could. If I wanted to make a TV series, I could. It's just, it's fair game. Anybody can do anything. There's no copyright as such on that particular version of, the early iteration of what would become Mickey Mouse. And so, because of that, that means that there's a bunch of films in development that are, yes, using that version of Mickey as their base concept. For Screenboat, Variety reports that Teen Wolf's Tyler Posey, Impractical Joker Brian Q. Quinn, gotta love me some Quinn, man, Terrifier 2's Kailey Hyman, and Better Call Saul's Joe DeRosa have joined Screenboat's cast. Now, previously, it had already been announced that Art the Clown actor David Howard Thornton, he is playing the villain here, which that villain is a twisted take on Steamboat Willie, described as a mischievous mouse that stalks some New Yorkers on a late-night ferry ride. There was a teaser trailer that's already been put out, just almost kind of like a proof of concept teaser, just as in like, this is what this is going to be. And it looks okay. It looks okay. Like I said, I'm not particularly enthused about all these Mickey horror films that are on the way. Or, I mean, you've got all the Winnie the Pooh stuff, Pooblah and Honey. You've got the Bambi the Reckoning, all these characters that are classic characters that are being reinterpreted as horror characters. Mickey Mouse, there's going to be a lot of them, man. Screenboat, I'd say so far looks like it could be the best of the bunch, but that bunch could be quite a low bar. But we'll see. I don't want to judge too much until the thing actually comes out. I mean, David Howard Thornton involved. That's a big tick in the right direction. So yeah, that's something to be positive about. Stephen Lamore, who directed the Grinch-inspired Meme One, he's on directing duties here, with Screenboat targeting a January 2025 release. And with that is it for today's news here. I've been Andrew Pollard. This has been What Culture Horror. Have a great rest of your week. I'll be back in a few days. In the meantime, go and watch some Tony Todd movies, man. What an absolute exceptional talent. Rest well.